What orange thing? This one you can come? You got drunk, no? On this?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I know it's difficult to come when our own lives are busy, but if anyone ever respected a moment of our time, it's my brother José. If any of you, and you all do, you know Jos, this is not how you wanted to say goodbye. There's not enough music, there's not enough fun, there's not enough life, there aren't enough friends, there's not enough anything. So that goodbye will happen in Joburg at a future date, and we'll let you all know and make sure you can come. To our friends and family that are watching online, thank you all. Keep the messages coming because they've been a great source of solace and comfort for all of us. So today, rather than being really formal, we're going to take a few moments to hear from some of José's loved ones who will say a few words, each accompanied by a song that meant something to them or to José, or as a message that we should take away with us today. It was a few summers ago that I was driving on the motorway at a just approved speed when my phone rang, and it was my brother. And he never called me. We never called each other. It was messages. Messages sometimes a month apart, sometimes 6 months apart. It didn't make a difference. It was always the same. We were always brothers. And even though we had very different outlooks and approaches to life, I think we shared exactly the same values, and we held exactly the same things important. And we want to honor the same things with our family. A little while later, my dad passed. And as a blessing, my brother was there for his final breath, holding him, stroking his hair, doing the job we all should have done. So for my brother today, we're going to be happy. We're going to talk about the things that he loved and how he loved. And he loved a lot of things and did a lot of things. And I don't think we have time. So in the short time we have, I'll ask you not to be brief, but to take your time and say everything you need to say. As we approach the end, I'll ask everybody to stand one last time and say goodbye to my brother, and that's the only bit of formality today. And we'll leave all that for the future. So before we start, our first person to speak today is my brother's eldest, Nikita. And there's just a song we'd like to play, a verse or two of first, as we get ready.
I say goodbye, but how? How do you say goodbye to the person that filled every room, every heart, every smile, every shoe? There is an ache in our hearts that nothing will ever quite fill. And even though we knew that one day we might have to face this moment, we were never truly ready to let you go. Our hearts are heavy and the pain feels almost too much to bear. It doesn't feel real that you are gone, that we won't hear your laugh again, see your smile, or feel your arms around us. Saying goodbye feels impossible. How do you put a lifetime of love, laughter, and lessons into words? How do you let go of someone who has been your anchor and your hero? You were never just a father, you were everything. Our constant in a world that felt uncertain. With your strong hands and gentle heart, you taught us what love looks like. Not always loud, but always present. You have shown us how to live with courage and love deeply. We weren't ready to lose you. We never would have been. The pain of your absence feels unbearable, and yet even in the depths of our grief, your love is still holding us up. We hear your voice in our hearts. We feel your presence in everything we do. Your strength lives on in us. Your love continues in the way we love others. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for every sacrifice, every hug, every quiet moment of understanding. Thank you for being ours. So, Daddy, I promise you that on the hard days, we will remind ourselves that we wouldn't trade the love to escape the grief. We wouldn't erase the happiness to avoid the pain. And we will endure a lifetime of missing you for having the privilege of having loved you. We will carry you with us always. This isn't really goodbye, it's just see you later.
Thank you, Nikita. One of the defining features of my brother's life is the Portuguese spirit, the finding joy in misery, the fado, the saudade. And towards the end of his life, after years of really not liking Portugal and thinking that that place really needed to come into the future, it finally did, and he finally fell in love with it. And over the last 5-6 years, he spent as much of his time in Portugal as he possibly could, working from the beach, being beaten up by my little boy with a broken tooth, a broken toe, and another broken tooth as soon as the other one was fixed. And he loved every second of it. So, being Portuguese and his ties to his homeland, his ties to his family, there's one song I know he would have liked us to play. And after many years of insisting, he finally fell in love with fado. And he finally agreed with me. So before my sister Mickey says a few words on behalf of the family, we're going to play just a note that reminds us where he's from and what he was all about.
Right, I hope I'm going to hold it together. I've sat at the beach since he's left me, many days, and I've written him lots and lots of little notes, little letters. And then, as his older sister, I thought, I'm going to talk to my brother. I'm not going to talk about him. I'm just going to talk to him. I want to talk to my brother on behalf of the family. His nephews, Keanu, who's not here, who's in England at the moment, Aidan, Eton, and Isaac. They loved him, and they love you so much Jos. They had immense adoration for you. To them, you were a superhero. They thought you were funny. They were amazed at your success. You were extremely handsome. Some people say you're the handsomest man ever. You were interesting. You had a free spirit. You were adventurous. And someone they were proud to call uncle. Then you had your sister-in-law, Nicola, who's married to Manny. And you have your ex-brother-in-law, Mickey. And you have my husband, Terry, who absolutely adored you. Mum and Dad, they've always been so proud of you. You were not exactly what they thought you'd turn out to be, but they were so proud of who you were. Mum's only concern was that you would not get old on your own. She always worried about it. She'd always say, I don't want Zetor to be alone when he's old. I want him to be with somebody when he's old. And I don't want Zetor to die on his own. That was always her concern. But you did not die alone. We were all there for you. I was there when you took your last breath. And I will treasure that moment until I join you. I heard your last words. Your last words were, home, home. You kept repeating home. And I said, you're going home. You're going home to Dad. I feel I have been privileged and blessed with that. Oh, he would be really annoyed with me right now because he would say, just hold it together, Mickey. Manny, Nandinga, and I, all very different, but in our love for you, identical. We know you loved us so much, and your bossiness, your criticisms of us brought us so many smiles. One thing we were very honest with each other, and we just said it as it was. When you received your diagnosis, you discussed your treatment with us, and then you changed your mind about the treatment, deciding to follow a different journey. We disagreed with you, and you were so angry with us, so angry. So much so that you said, unless we stopped talking about it, you would stop communicating with us. And so we decided never to mention it again, knowing full well in our hearts that the time we would have with you would be shortened. Your journey was your own. You had total autonomy. That's who you were as a child, as a young boy, and as a man. You had an amazing mind. Your words touched those who read it. You had a sense of magic with the written word, which few have. Verbally, you could be kind, inspirational, but also brutally honest. I loved the way that when I questioned you about being so honest with me, and you were very honest with me, you would say, I'm just making you a better person, Mickey. I'm so proud that you were my brother, my little brother. You are an amazing father. Your main preoccupations were always about how the girls were that the girls were happy, that the girls would be okay. A doting father, a brilliant mind, and the most awesome brother to your siblings. And I know that you were a dedicated and loyal friend to so many people. The day you left us and the days after, all I could do was cry. All we could do was cry. I can't believe that it's actually real. I think today is probably needed. We'll never hear your voice again. Even when you shouted at us. Shouted at me quite a lot, actually, in these last few days. He shouted at my sister because she wasn't blending the bananas and the strawberries properly. He shouted at her. He said, "Can you just do that properly, please, sister?" Oh, and I cannot believe that we will not be able to hug you again. I have felt no greater pain than the moment when your heart stopped beating and mine carried on. I did not get to spend the rest of my life with you, but you spent the last moments of your life with us, with me. I heard your last words, and that does calm my spirit. I held your hand, I stroked your face, and you left us. In your last days, you were surrounded by Mum and your siblings, the first people in your life. You would have been so happy to see that there are some childhood friends here today, like Tony and Paul. We all grew up together with little children. So I am proud of the family that we all are, so proud that you are one of us. You have left us with only part of our hearts, and we are never going to be the same again. We love you, Jos.
Love you, sis. There were two things my brother was amazing at. He was a creative soul. Tried music, it wasn't his thing. But putting pen to paper, or paintbrush to paper, or canvas, he was super talented. And he should have spent a lot of his life doing that. But the thing he was really best at was finding ways to help others. In people where I would always see people for what they were, my brother would always see people for what they could be. And if he knew they could be that, my God, he'd try and help them. Sometimes it was tough love, sometimes it was shouting, but often it wasn't. But he always helped. And that help has always been reciprocated. And one of the special people in his life that resonates with most, I think, is Ashley. So we're going to call Ashley up to say a few words.
I've been thinking a lot about what to say, what words could possibly sum up someone like Joe. The truth is, I don't think any of us could be able to fully capture him in words. But what I can do is tell you what he meant to me. He wasn't my father by blood, but he loved me as my own, unconditionally. And in return, I love him just the same, effortlessly. He showed up for me in every way that mattered. He protected me, guided me, believed in me when I couldn't even see it myself. That kind of love builds you, it shapes you, and it shapes the person you become. He was kind, he was mindful, and he made sure that I always remembered to be kind too, no matter what. I'll always carry with me the conversations that we had about life, about dreams, about plans we had for the future, about all the things we wanted to build, experience. Those dreams are still with me, and I'll keep moving forward with them because that's what he'd want. I'll always remember the way he reminded me to keep my head up, to keep on fighting, to be an observer of the present and a listener. He made me strong and resilient to be able to take whatever life throws next. About a month ago, Joe and I visited the observatory in Cedarburg Mountains. He loved the universe, the stars, and the quiet vastness of it all. I remember how happy he was that night, how light he felt right in that moment. That's how I'll remember him, at peace, curious about the wonders of the universe, and still teaching me without even trying. He was the strongest man I've ever known, and a true inspiration to many. Joe had this rare ability to make everyone feel seen, whether you crossed paths with him briefly or knew him deeply. He always left something with you, a lesson, a laugh, or just a feeling that you mattered. That's why his absence feels so big today, because he gave so much of himself to others. I also want to thank Joe for introducing me to his beautiful family. To be embraced by them and to share this space of love and memory with all of you means more than I could say. Joe once sent me a poem and a line. He said, "To be strong, you need to have courage to cry." So I'm standing here today doing both, crying but standing. A piece of our soul is gone, and it always will be, but I'll carry that forward with everything. I'll keep fighting on, like he always told me to, for him and for me. No words could ever express my gratitude for you, my Joe. I will always love you more than life. And I know, with you watching over us, you are with us in every moment we face ahead. I love you. You are everything, and that is enough. Thank you.
I'm going to just take a second to read a passage from the Bible, from John 16:22. Vou ler uma passagem da Bíblia, João 16:22. Também vós agora estáis tristes e apreensivos. Este é um momento de sofrimento, mas eu vos verei de novo, e então muito vos alegrei, e mais ninguém tirará a vossa alegria. I can't even begin to count the number of friends my brother has. In the short time I've been taking care of his phone, the messages outpace the time I have, the seconds in the day. There are friends from all over the world, from every part of his life, people I haven't heard from in decades. He made some real connections with people that weren't family, people that maybe shared completely different backgrounds, life stories, but the connections were always real. And I know that having that faith in people, sometimes it lets you down, sometimes people let you down. But my brother got better at it. He became an expert. And as time went, his friends reflected that. And I'd like to invite two of them in the next few minutes to come and say a few words about that relationship they had with Jos. And I'll start perhaps with Leon.
My skin and bones give up those not finally feeling my presence. Joe, a soul as wild and as free as he could be, passed away on Tuesday the 15th, leaving behind a legacy of passion, courage, unstoppable energy, and a relentless spirit for living life to the fullest. Born with an insatiable desire to explore, to experience, Joe was never one to sit still. He lived life in constant motion, whether dancing, riding on 2 wheels or 4, or mapping out the next great road trip. I still remember our first ride together as if it was yesterday. Joe arrived in what would soon become his now infamous pink biker jacket. Not really knowing who exactly he was or even what he was, Joe, true to form, left us wondering behind that wicked smile. I can tell you this, Joe owned that pink jacket and wore it proudly for the next 5 hours. From the very beginning, Gavin and I realized that Joe was a formidable rider, fearless and driven by a fierce desire to conquer roads and terrains that most would hesitate to attempt. I met Joe just over 4 years ago, introducing me to explorer-type riding, always pushing the limits. We rode harder, faster, and further, chasing the setting sun, each day inevitably ending with Joe picking my bike up from the sand. Whether on winding mountain roads or those remote dirt trails to the Cederberg, Joe chased dreams and horizons that others only ever imagined. His adventure bike, often dust-caked, scarred by the sand roads, was more than just a machine. It was his symbol of his freedom, resilience, and that unbreakable spirit that defined him. It was his way of life. To his friends, Joe was dynamic, full of fire, honesty, and candor. He had arrived with a new story, a big laugh, and the lingering thrill of his latest ride. Traveling with Joe meant seeing the world as he saw it, in bold, vivid colors, with the wind in your face and the horizon always just ahead. To love Joe was an understatement. You needed to understand that his heart beat in the rhythm, with music, with engines, open skies, endless roads, and most importantly, his daughters. Joe is survived by his 4 daughters, his mother, his brother, and his 2 sisters, along with countless friends and an even greater community who will never forget the roar of his approach, the warmth of his presence, and the inspiration and love he brought to every journey. Though the road now bends where we cannot follow, we know Joe is out there, engine humming, side stand up, chasing a new dawn and a new adventure. Ride in peace, brother.
Seeing the world in colors through my brother's eyes was not easy. Both of us are colorblind as can be possible. So that explains part of the pink jacket, I'm sure. And probably a lot of other things we never understood. No more words. Ty, would you like to come and say a few words?
We're all here today to celebrate the life of a friend, an uncle, a brother, a son, a grandfather, and most importantly, a father, and a man also known as Gutterboy. My first encounter with Joe was from the grandstands, watching him race up and down the roads, up and down the tracks in his VW, Gen B, that was his pride and joy. That was the moment I knew, witnessing something different. Someone different, a man driven by passion, energy, and a pure, unfiltered adrenaline. When I think of Joe, motorsports comes to my mind immediately. Joe treated life like a racetrack, fast, fearless, and full of twists and turns. That was one of the greatest lessons he leaves us behind. Live boldly and live fully. He wasn't just a friend to me. He became a brother. A mentor and role model. He had the fearless hunger to try new things, and somehow he was very good at everything he did. From Muay Thai to boxing to weightlifting, placing third in the competition. Needless to say, they say dynamite comes in small packages. When he wasn't breaking records on the racetrack, he was setting them elsewhere. Like the Guinness Book record, a Guinness World Record convoy, which was set in St. Francis. Joe on his motorbike, doing what he did, what he loved, surrounded by the people, laughter, and the sense of purpose that he carries with him everywhere. Joe wasn't just fast and fearless, he had a heart that even the bigger than... Joe wasn't just fast and fearless, he had a heart that was even bigger than his love for racing. I was very fortunate to go visit Joe and the family in Lisbon, and whilst we were waiting for friends to come visit us at one of the restaurants, we heard screams and shouting in the Tagus River behind us, and needless to say, before we could even figure out what was happening, there went Joe, the Portuguese David Hasselhoff, into his boxes, sliding down the river banks, going to go save the little lady. No hesitation, just pure instinct. That was Joe, a lifesaver in every sense. He was a fighter in the ring, on the track, and in life, but he was also a lover for people. If you knew Joe, you knew that he had a rare gift, the ability to connect deeply and instantly. You felt his warmth, his love, and his joy. And it wasn't just that he connected with you. He pushed you to be more. He pushed you to be better. He pushed you to your full potential. Nothing brought him more happiness than his angels, his daughters, and his granddaughter. To them, he gave his whole heart. His love for you was pure and unshakable and unconditional. You were his everything, and he'll always be there with you, watching over you, so proud of the strong and beautiful woman you've become. To your mom, your sisters, and Manny, you may rest now. He's run his race, his fight is done. He's with the angels now, reunited with his dad, smiling down on us all. We love you, Joe. We always will. Rest easy.
Time is fleeting, and our time here today is coming to an end. I tried very hard to think of words to say on behalf of my brother about my brother, and I couldn't come up with any, at a loss. But as always, my brother already had the solution waiting for me. And I came across a poem that honestly, I don't know how it wasn't written by him, because every single word is who my brother was. I'm going to read the poem, and then I'm going to ask you to all raise afterwards, and we will have a short prayer led by Leon. We will stand in silence. When the prayer is over, we will play a song. Those that want to remain for the passing of the casket can. Those that do not want to, please make your way out. Do whatever you feel is right for you. But our time is coming to an end. Once I ran from fear, so fear controlled me. until I learned to hold fear like a newborn, to listen to it, but not give in, to honor it, but not worship it. Fear could not stop me anymore. I walked with courage into the storm. I still have fear, but it does not have me. Once I was ashamed of who I was. I invited shame into my heart and I let it burn. It told me, I am only trying to protect your vulnerability. I thanked shame dearly and stepped into life anyway, unashamed, with shame as a lover. Once I had great sadness buried deep inside. I invited it to come out and play. I wept oceans and my tear ducts ran dry. And I found joy there, right at the core of my sorrow. It was heartbreak that taught me how to love. Once I had anxiety, a mind that wouldn't stop, thoughts that wouldn't be silent, so I stopped trying to silence them, and I dropped out of the mind, into the earth, into the mud, where I was held strong like a tree, unshakable and safe. Once, anger burnt in my depths, but I called anger into the light of myself. I felt its shocking power. I let my heart pound and my blood boil. I listened to it finally, and it screamed, respect yourself fiercely now. Speak your truth with passion. Say no when you mean no. Walk your path with courage. Let no one speak for you. Anger became an honest friend, a truthful guide, a beautiful wild child. Once loneliness cut deep. I tried to distract and numb myself. I ran to people and places and things. I even pretended I was happy. But as soon as I could not run anymore, and I tumbled into the heart of loneliness, and I died and was reborn into an exquisite solitude and stillness that connected me to all things. So I was not lonely, but alone with all life. My heart one with all other hearts. Once I ran from difficult feelings. Now they are my advisors, my confidants, my friends, and they all have a home in me. And they all belong and have dignity. I am sensitive, soft, fragile. My arms wrapped around my inner children. And in my sensitivity there is power. In my fragility, an unshakable presence. In the depths of my wounds, in what I had named darkness, I found a blazing light that guides me now in battle. I became a warrior when I turned towards myself and started listening. And that was my brother. Leon. Thank you all so much for coming to show your love for my brother. And it's time to say goodbye. Please join us all if you can this afternoon. But if we can't, we know your hearts are there. For everybody watching online today, thank you so much. I hope you were able to hear and see all the love in the room. Thank you, brother, for everything. We all love you. Goodbye. Unless you want to stay and spend a few moments, I think let's do what my brother would have loved us to do and get out of here.